It's time for IP in the news. And what are we talking about now?
Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
Winnie the Pooh Blood. What is that?
So, Winnie the Pooh, that was written many years ago by A.A. Milne, is coming off of copyright. And so that means that anybody can use it. Now, Disney did a lot with it, so you can't use any of the Disney stuff, but you can use the name. So, this person, and I don't have his name in front of me, wanted to be the first to get there with something about Winnie the Pooh. And so he decided to do a horror film.
Which I think is absolutely horrible because I remember my mother's and sitting on her knee and being all comfortable and she reading Winnie the Pooh books to me. And this is the like turning it into a horror movie just completely destroys all of those fantastic childhood memories.
Well, I thought it could be kind of funny, but then I watched the trailer and it was super bloody.
Yeah, it's very bloody and I guess it's gory. And what I understand is that Winnie the Pooh and Piglet, tiny little Piglet, becomes feral and they're become serial killers and they try to kill Christopher Robin because he abandoned them.
And there's a little grave there where it says Eeyore R.I.P. So I guess Eeyore's dead.
Yes, yeah, I guess all of Eeyore's misery finally came to fruition at some point. I don't know.
But
Maybe he was killed by the
yes,
bear and the.
so just for copyright, so Disney still has copyright to the stuff they did with it, right? Because they didn't use
Well,
the
it
red
depends on when
shirt.
the copyrights expire. So I mean, it's what the book was written by A.A. Milne a long time ago, and so I would imagine that a lot of the original cartoons are off copyright. So Disney probably added some things, but look at if they can make a horror movie out of it, then that really they've lost most of their important rights. So
And there's no way to extend those,
yeah.
right?
So yeah, this movie is like up there with Abraham Lincoln, the Vampire Slayer, right? It's just
Or
that makes
Pride and Prejudice and zombies, right? People love doing this to our classics.
anyway. I guess we all have to watch it now, but it's time for
No, I'm
Richard's
not watching it. I'm
Roundtable.
sorry. Not watching it.
Okay, well, I'll watch it. It's time for Richard's Roundtable, and we'd love to get our guests' opinions on this, serious development in the world of intellectual property. Let's start with our guest, Guy Powell. Welcome to the show, Guy. What are your thoughts on this evolving Winnie the Pooh saga?
Yeah, hi. Great to be here, and thank you. I was, as you were talking about it, I had a couple of questions, but I was thinking about how a brand can lose control of their brand, and in particular in social media, and it very much mirrors exactly what's happened now with the Winnie the Pooh brand, so to speak. So if I get a reputation attack with it, and if it's false or whatever, I could lose my reputation in social media and in marketing, and then then I have to try and figure out how to repair it. In this case with Winnie the Pooh, I'm kind of I don't know how you could repair it once that brand gets destroyed with that horrible horror movie. I can't imagine what they can do to get that brand back. So it may be destroyed forever.
It's pretty sad.
Yeah, I mean, I as you were talking through it, I was thinking the same thing. And you think about all the kids that grew up with this story, and it's like a nice thing, and there's a sort of wholesomeness there to the cartoon characters and some humor, and a lot of children probably benefited from hearing some of those stories. And like you said, once this comes out, you really wonder what's going to happen to the franchise,
Uh,
right?
well, and this kind of ties into last week when you weren't here, but but we talked about how Oprah's company Harpo sued these two young women who started a podcast, all things about Oprah, and were calling like using her name all over the place, and they named the podcast like Oprah something, I forget what, and Oprah was really smart to say, look, you could really destroy my brand if people think this is sanctioned by me.
Right.
So
It really is very interesting. Christian, welcome to the show. What are your thoughts on all this?
Thank you for having me, and happy Wednesday to everyone. I was thinking about a quote somebody told me yesterday that Albert Einstein said the most important decision we will make is whether we believe we live in a friendly or a hostile universe. And I guess the people that made this maybe think we live in a hostile universe, and I would tend to think that we live in a friendly one. And so, to the extent that they could make something like Winnie the Pooh, Pigs Do Fly, or something kind of fun and creative, I think that might be a much better thing for the world in the brand.
Right.
I agree.
Yeah, it's definitely the producers of the show, and it's a low budget movie too, are just trying to get some hype, and they're trying to, you know, obviously trade off of the complete 180-degree brand, and they are kind of ruining it for everybody.
But so
right?
here's the thing, they wanted to be the first ones to use Winnie the Pooh after it came off copyright. So why does your brain immediately go to horror? Like, what is wrong? I agree with you. Like, you can see the world as a good place or a bad place, and that's how they see the world, I guess.
I guess it is, or they're trying to make money off the people. Who knows? Anyway, Nikki,
Yes.
please give us. You don't have to agree with any of this, by the way. You may love the idea, and that's fine with us.
I think it's amazing. No. Honestly, a brand, at times, people create brands that they think cater to the culture. And I can't say I'm surprised by this, because there's been so many bizarre situations and remakes of things. And I will not be surprised if there is an entire underground community that gravitates towards it. And and on some level, there's a lot of things that have been idyllic and, whimsical from, generations that I grew up in that are really kind of turning to dust. I mean, my daughter is 19, and there's things that I'm, bringing up to her, and she's like, what is that? I'm like, what? You don't understand what Winnie the Pooh is? Like, if I said that to her now, she would be like, okay, so what?
Yeah.
So there really is a culture out there that is really changing. And somewhere or another, they believe that there is because this would never have happened 20 years ago.
Right.
I don't think anybody would have even dared to think that it would be acceptable 20 years ago to even remake. That's like remaking Cinderella, into she's a serial killer. Like you wouldn't do it. You would not have done it 20 years ago because the culture would not have allowed it. Somewhere or another, I feel like there's a culture out there that's allowing it.
Wow, that is really insightful. And I think you're 100% right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they wouldn't be doing it if somebody didn't want to see it.
Exactly.
And they're not doing it just for laughs. They're doing it
for money.
To make money.
Yeah, and they're going to make some money, I think. They're going to, not a ton, but I think they're going to make some money.
They're going to start having secret Winnie the Pooh parties where everybody dresses up like Winnie the Pooh characters and walks around with knives and blood and
okay, well, let's move on. Kenya, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's horrific and genius in the same breath. And I think that, if you can take a well-established brand that's, has recognition, and you can flip it into something else. I mean, what I would have maybe done is, the anime characters, like that's like a whole world of like, I would have did something like that, like flipped it into another world. To her point earlier about the culture being there, I think there is an opportunity to make money. And I think if you do it the right way, you could probably make a lot of money. So it wasn't a bad idea. I just think it's aligned not with the best intent.
Right.
Right.
Well, now you guys have me thinking, because maybe we should rename Passage to Profit Passage, Blood and Patents or something like that, because there's obviously going to be a culture out there that wants the horrific side of entrepreneurship.
Or a funny side or anything. I think if you flip it into anything, it could work. But
I like how Elizabeth is looking at you right now.
That's her. We're going to have a discussion after the show.
That's correct.